You ever get so quiet? So still? You can hear your own soul crying? Yeah, that was me. For 22 years. And the worst part? Nobody ever noticed, not even my own reflection. My name is Loretta Whitmore. I'm 64 years old. And this is the story they never thought I'd live long enough to tell. I was the well-dressed woman pushing the grocery cart alone, the quiet lady at the church socials, the one with perfect potluck casseroles and dead eyes. You know me. Or someone just like me. People used to say, "Loretta, you're so lucky to have a man like Charles." If they only knew the devil they were worshipping. Charles Whitmore was a successful real estate developer. Silver-tongued, always smiling in photos. The kind of man who'd shake a pastor's hand in church and then strangle his wife behind a closed door. We were married for 38 years. And for at least 25 of those, I was invisible until he wanted to hit something. He started small. Silent treatments. Disgusted glances. Laughing at my ideas. Then came the cheating. First, it was hush-hush, lipstick on his collars, business trips that didn't match the hotel receipts. But I didn't say anything. I was 60, what was I supposed to do? Start over? With what? Then came her. Melanie. His 28-year-old secretary. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. She wore heels in our home. Left her perfume on my pillows. And the final slap in the face? He married her. Without even divorcing me. Big wedding in St. Bart's. I found out from Facebook photos one of my grandkids accidentally liked. When I confronted him, he slammed the phone from my hand and beat me until my mouth filled with blood and my blouse stuck to my skin. I remember looking up at him through one eye swollen shut and whispering, "Why are you doing this to me?" He said, "Because you let me." That night, I laid on the bathroom tiles for 5 hours. Shivering. Bleeding. Praying for either death or a miracle. One of them came. But not in the way you'd expect. My hands may have trembled, but my soul roared awake. I found a new kind of power. One born not from rage, but from clarity. And I began to plan. Silently. Smartly. Like a woman no one saw coming. I had something Charles never imagined, a memory sharp as a knife, and nothing left to lose. Before we continue, ladies, if you're watching this, tell me in the comments where you're from. Have you ever been betrayed like this? Do you know someone who has? Speak now. You're not alone. And if this story touches you, subscribe, like, and share. Because this is just the beginning. The morning after he beat me, I stared in the mirror for 20 minutes. I didn't recognize the woman looking back. Her eye was purple, lips split, blood crusted on her temple. But that wasn't what made her unrecognizable. It was the fire in her stare. I didn't call the police. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew how that story would end. An old woman. No witnesses. His word against mine. And him? Charles Whitmore? Charleston's shining star? Nobody would believe me. Again. So I cleaned myself up with shaking hands, covering the bruises with makeup that never quite did the job. I wore sunglasses to the pharmacy even though it was raining. I remember standing in line, holding a bottle of ibuprofen with swollen fingers, and hearing a young woman behind me giggle on the phone. Girl, if my man ever did that to me, I'd be gone in a second. I wanted to turn and scream. You think it's that easy? You think leaving after 38 years, when you have no money of your own, no job, no real friends left because he made sure to cut them off, when you're already being told you're worthless every day, is simple? But I didn't scream. I just paid and left. That night, I sat on the edge of the guest bed. Head moved me there after marrying Melanie. My bedroom became theirs. My home, their playground. And then, I found it. A small notebook, tucked beneath the mattress. No name on the cover. Just a black leather book with warped edges and a red ribbon marker. It looked like something he might have forgotten from a trip. I opened it. Page 1. Melanie's birthday. Booked private yacht. She likes French champagne. Page 2. Wire $200K to Cayman account under her name. Keep Loretta's name off trust. Page 5. Loretta's pension. Rerouted. She won't notice. Old people never do. My hands began to shake. But I read every word. Every detail. He wasn't just cheating. He was erasing me. Legally. Financially. Socially. I wasn't just some bitter old wife in the background. I was being buried alive while still breathing. I sat still for hours, my knuckles white around that notebook. It wasn't just betrayal. It was theft of a life. And then came the knock. Hard. Fast. Furious. I thought it was him. I hid the notebook. I opened the door. It wasn't Charles. It was a woman. Around my age. Short gray bob. Rain dripping from her coat. "You're Loretta?" she asked. Her voice was shaking. I used to be married to him too. To Charles. My legs buckled. She caught me before I hit the floor. That night, with 2 mugs of black coffee on the table between us, I learned things that made my skin crawl and my teeth ache. Her name was Margot. She married Charles when he was 23. They were together for 6 years. He left her after she miscarried and had surgery that left her infertile. He said I was defective, she whispered, her hands trembling. He emptied my savings and vanished. Just poof. I didn't even get the house. Charles never told me he was married before. Not once. No divorce records. Nothing. That's when I knew this wasn't just abuse. This was a pattern. A system. A man who hunted and discarded women once they outlived their use. And he made a mistake. Because now I wasn't just angry. I had evidence. And I wasn't alone anymore. Margot looked me dead in the eye and said something that shook my bones. "You want to make him pay, Loretta? I've been waiting 40 years. Let's burn him together." You don't know power until you've been powerless. Until you've been stripped of everything: love, dignity, freedom. But once you've been to hell and crawled back on your knees, oh honey, you're not afraid of fire anymore. You become it. Margot stayed until sunrise. We sat in my dusty kitchen, surrounded by the ghosts of a life I no longer recognized, wedding photos on the wall, china still in its glass prison, the scent of lavender from a candle I never lit. It all felt fake. Like a set designed to lie. "I kept tabs on him all these years," Margot said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. "I thought maybe one day someone would need it." Inside, copies of old police reports, discarded lawsuits, confidential settlements, and something that made my breath catch: a death certificate. Not his, unfortunately, but a woman's. Her name, Carla Jameson. Died in 1998. The cause? Accidental fall. Blunt force trauma to the skull. The footnote? Known associate, Charles Whitmore. She wasn't just a fling. She was the woman he left Margot for. And then, she accidentally died. "You're telling me he's killed someone?" I whispered, voice cracking. Margot didn't blink. Or paid someone to. Either way, she's dead. And he walked away richer. I felt my stomach turn. This wasn't just personal anymore. This man had left a trail of broken women behind him, some erased, some silenced, some dead. And I was next in line. Not anymore. The next day, I played my role perfectly. I served Charles breakfast. Omelette, toast, coffee. Just like he liked it. I even smiled. He didn't know I had photographed the notebook pages. That I'd emailed copies to Margot and saved others in a timed email to an attorney listed in Carla's old case file. He didn't know I'd used his toothbrush to collect his DNA. He didn't know I'd already called his assistant and planted doubt about Melanie's loyalty, hinting that Melanie was using him for money and already seeing someone on the side. I had nothing left to lose, so I used everything I had left. By evening, Charles was already agitated, twitching, snapping at Melanie on the phone, accusing her of lying. His voice shook the walls. I didn't flinch. I just sat on the front porch, shelling peas like my mother used to. Watching. Waiting. Melanie stormed out 2 hours later, crying. Luggage in tow. Charles stood at the doorway, red-faced and sweating. "Lori," he barked, "what the hell did you say to her?" I didn't look at him. I just smiled, soft and slow, and said, "I asked her if she liked yachts and offshore accounts." Just like the last one. His face went pale. He knew. I knew. That night, he didn't sleep. He kept pacing, drinking, muttering to himself. I listened to the floorboards creak, watched the hallway shadows move like ghosts. I knew the kind of man he was. Angry, stupid, predictable. So I moved the knife block. Let him look for it. I locked my door from the inside, for the first time in years. I slept like a baby. In the morning, I woke up early. Walked to the mailbox. There was a package inside, no return address. I opened it carefully. Inside, a flash drive. And a note. Play this when you're ready. It's from Carla. She recorded it before she died. My hands went cold. Even the dead had begun to speak. There's a kind of scream that doesn't come from your mouth. It lives in your bones. Hums under your skin. I heard it when I pressed play. It wasn't Carla's voice that scared me. It was the fact that I believed every word she said. I sat at the old desk by the window. My hands trembled as I inserted the flash drive into Charles's laptop. The login password was still his birthday. Arrogant bastard never thought I'd figure it out. The screen flickered. One single file, for whoever finds this. Carla Jameson. MP4". I hit play. Her face appeared. Late 30s. Blonde. Pale. Eyes red from crying. She was sitting on a motel bed, wrapped in a brown blanket. The curtains behind her fluttered slightly, a breeze barely moving the air around her. She looked straight into the camera. If you're watching this, he's either killed me or I've run too far to matter anymore. His name is Charles Whitmore. He's not who you think he is. He doesn't just cheat. He doesn't just lie. He destroys women. He made me fall in love with him. Told me he'd leave his wife. Then he found out I was pregnant. My chest seized. Pregnant? That's when the threat started. At first, it was subtle. You don't know who I am. I can ruin you. Then it got violent. He pushed me once. Then again. The last time, I fell down the stairs and lost the baby. He said it was an accident. Said I was hysterical. Carla looked away from the camera. He told me if I said anything, he'd finish what he started. He's got people. He has money. Power. The kind of power that makes women disappear. Her voice cracked. I'm so tired. So tired of being afraid. If you're watching this and you're where I am now, don't trust him. Don't forgive him. Don't let him smile his way out of this. I'm not crazy. I'm not weak. I'm just one of the unlucky ones who saw behind the mask. He killed me. Even if I wake up tomorrow, he's already killed me. The screen went black. I didn't move for a full minute. My heart beat so hard I thought it might bruise my ribs. I knew what I had to do. I called Margot. 3 days later, Margot and I were sitting in a dusty law office downtown. A pro bono attorney. Young, smart, hungry. He watched the video. Read the notes. Listened as we described the bruises, the bank transfers, the threats. And when we were done, he said something I'll never forget. You don't just have a case. You have a war. And if you want to go to battle, I'll stand with you. That night, I came home to find the house dark. Quiet. Charles was sitting in the living room. The TV was on but muted. A drink in his hand. The light from the screen danced on his face. I know what you're doing, he said without looking at me. I stood still. Good. He turned his head slowly. His eyes weren't angry. They were empty. I gave you everything, he said. You were nothing when I found you. Nothing. I walked closer. Then I guess you'll feel right at home when I leave you with nothing too. He stood up. Fast. The glass hit the wall. Shattered. He moved toward me, hands clenched. Breath heavy. That old violence rising. But this time, I didn't flinch. I pulled a recorder from my coat pocket. Red light blinking. He froze. You hit me once, I said softly. Try again. I'll play it for the judge. And the media. And the DA who's already reviewing your accounts. For the first time in 38 years. Charles Whitmore took a step back from me. Not because he was sorry, but because he was scared. That night he left. No bags. No goodbye. He just vanished. But I knew Charles. He wasn't running. He was planning. So was I. And in the dark, I whispered to myself, let the games begin. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But when you've spent 38 years being burned alive, you don't want cold. You want the fire. You want to watch it all turn to ash. Charles was gone, but not gone. He still had eyes. The mail came later. The phone rang less. Even the neighbors, those nosy, gossip-hungry, church-gloved women who once clung to his every word, began to act strange. Staring longer than usual. Whispering when I passed. Avoiding my eyes. Something was off. And then came the letter. Not in the mailbox. Not even delivered. It was slid under my door like a warning in the dark. A single sheet of thick ivory paper. Typed. You're making a mistake, Loretta. Some ghosts don't stay dead. Some women disappear for a reason. Be a good girl. Go back to your corner. There was no signature. No return address. I showed it to Margot that night. Her hands trembled as she read it. We're close, she whispered. He's scared. She was right. The lawyer had dug up plenty old payout settlements, buried civil complaints, and something we didn't expect, a joint offshore account in both Charles's and Melanie's names. Turns out the secretary was no fool. She hadn't left him, she'd been playing her own game. I think she planned to drain him, the lawyer said. If she testifies, we can bury him. So I reached out to Melanie. And she agreed to meet. She wore sunglasses, scarf, and that same expensive perfume she used to mark my pillows. Let's get one thing straight, she said, sitting across from me at the back table of a quiet cafe. I didn't ruin your marriage. Charles was a monster long before I came along. I know, I said. That's why I need your help. She hesitated, looked around, then said something I didn't expect. He has a child. I froze. What? A daughter. From years ago. He never claimed her. But he sends money every month. Quietly. She's about 17 now. Living with her mother in Oregon. I felt my stomach flip. All these years, Charles pretending to hate children, mocking me for not giving him a son, and he'd been hiding one? Melanie slid a photo across the table. A girl with dark curls and Charles's unmistakable gray eyes. She doesn't know what he is, she said. But her mother might. I stared at the photo. At the face of a girl who didn't know her blood came from a monster. And suddenly, this wasn't just revenge anymore. It was about stopping a legacy. 2 days later, the retaliation began. Our lawyer's office was broken into. Only one thing was taken, the flash drive with Carla's video. The police said it looked like an opportunistic burglary. We knew better. Then Margot's tires were slashed. She found a dead bird on her windshield. And me? I came home to find my entire garden ripped out. Every rose bush torn from the roots. A single shovel left behind. On it, carved into the metal, next, we dig your grave. But what broke me wasn't Charles. It was my son, Jason. He hadn't visited me in 3 years. Said he was busy. He was always closer to Charles. Respected his father. Worshipped him. He showed up unannounced. Stood in my living room like a stranger. I saw what you're doing, he said coldly. Trying to ruin Dad. Ruin? I laughed bitterly. He ruined me, Jason. You're bitter. Old. Lonely. The words sliced through me. You never saw the truth, I whispered. Because it would have meant losing your fantasy. He didn't respond. Just walked out. Didn't even say goodbye. That night, I lit a single candle and sat in the dark. Listening to the creaks of the house. The ghosts of my old life whispering from the corners. And I made a choice. I wasn't doing this for sympathy. I wasn't doing this for Jason. Or Melanie. Or even Margot. I was doing this for every woman who had to smile through bleeding lips. For every lady over 60 told she was too old to matter. For the girl in Oregon who didn't know what kind of man shared her blood. And for the woman in the mirror, the one I hadn't recognized for years. Who was finally waking up. People think the past stays buried. But truth has roots, and roots grow in every direction. One day, you trip over it, and it pulls you under. We drove west under a rain-soaked sky. Margot behind the wheel. Me in the passenger seat with a folder full of lies. Her name was Natalie Walsh. Age, 17. High school senior. Good grades. Honor Society. Her mother? Diana Walsh. Former paralegal. No known connections to Charles on paper. But Melanie had sworn on her life. That girl is his. He paid Diana monthly. I saw the transfers. The plan was simple. Find Diana, show her Carla's video, tell her the truth, and ask for her help. But the moment I saw their house, small, clean, surrounded by towering pines on the outskirts of Ashland, I knew nothing would be simple. I knocked. The door opened. A woman stood there. Late 50s. Sharp eyes. Like mine used to be before I learned how to lower them. Yes. Diana Walsh? Yes. My name is Loretta Whitmore. I believe we need to talk. About Charles. Her face changed instantly. She didn't ask who Charles was. She already knew. We sat at her kitchen table. Natalie wasn't home. Good. Diana didn't cry. She didn't gasp. She didn't deny it. She poured me tea. And then said, I thought he was gone. I thought you'd be the one to bury him. You always were stronger than you looked. I froze. You knew about me? She nodded. He talked about you sometimes. Not kindly. But I always knew he was afraid of you in his own way. Afraid? I scoffed. He beat me until I bled. She didn't flinch. He beat me too. And then she told me her story. 1992, Charles met her at a fundraiser. Told her he was a widower. Said his wife had died in a crash. Said he was lonely, broken. She fell in love. Then she got pregnant. When she told him, he flipped. Tried to force an abortion. When she refused, he shoved her down a flight of stairs. She fractured 2 ribs. He vanished for a month. Then returned with a check for $100,000 and a warning. Take the money. Never tell her who I am. Or you'll end up like the last one. She took the money. And stayed silent for 17 years. I showed her Carla's video. She watched without blinking. Then she whispered, he's not just a monster. He's a disease. I nodded. I need you to speak. On record. She looked down. If I do, he'll come for us. I reached across the table. He's already coming. She hesitated, then said something that made my blood run cold. Then you better talk to Natalie. Because he's already reached out to her. What? She didn't tell me until a week ago. Said a man claiming to be an old friend of mine found her on social media. Said he was her father. She thought it was a scam until he showed her photos of me from when I was young. Ones I'd never posted. He's grooming her. Yes. I felt rage boil under my skin. He won't take her. No, Diana said softly, he won't. That night, I met Natalie. She looked like him. Those cold gray eyes. But there was something else in her light, curiosity, defiance. Why did you come? She asked me. Because you deserve the truth. And he doesn't deserve a second chance. I told her everything. Every bruise. Every betrayal. I showed her Carla's video. She didn't cry. She asked one question. Can I help? I smiled. We left the next morning. Diana promised to contact the attorney. Natalie gave me a hug that nearly shattered me. But as Margot and I pulled out of the driveway, I saw it. A black car parked 2 houses down. Windows tinted. Engines still running. Watching. That night, I got an email. No subject line. No sender. Inside, a single video file. I clicked play. And what I saw dropped me to my knees. It was Jason, my son, sitting beside Charles. Smiling. Saying, Mom's lost it. She's lying. I'll testify if I have to. Whatever it takes. I carried him for 9 months. Fed him with a spoon. Held his fevered body through nights of sobbing. And now, he sits beside the man who made me bleed. Calls me a liar. A madwoman. They say betrayal is hardest when it comes from blood. No, it's hardest when it comes from the piece of you you'd have died for. I watched the video again. Jason's voice soft. Rehearsed. She's been spiraling. Ever since the divorce. Paranoid. Delusional. She's trying to destroy my father's reputation because she can't accept he moved on. Lies. Every syllable a knife. Then Charles leaned in smug. Smiling. His hand casually landing on Jason's shoulder. Like a hunter grooming his successor. Like a snake showing its fangs. I closed the laptop. Slowly. My hands didn't shake. They didn't have the strength to. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I made tea. Sat by the window. And stared into the dark. That was the moment grief died in me. And something else, precision. Purpose. Punishment was born in its place. The next morning, I called Margot. told her to meet me at the storage unit. She didn't ask why. She knew. The place was quiet, dusty. I hadn't been there in nearly a decade. Inside, boxes of old documents, photos, and a fireproof safe Charles never knew I bought. Inside that, evidence. Not the kind that lawyers liked. The kind that could burn a man in public. Photos from charity events, Charles's hand too low on the intern's waist. Letters from women I'd intercepted and never confronted. A photo of Carla, black and blue, dated and time-stamped, taken when she'd knocked on my door once, bruised and terrified. I hadn't let her in. I should've. God forgive me. Margot sifted through it all. This is enough to end him. No, I said. It's enough to start the war. That night, I received another message. This time, from Jason directly. Text only. Stop digging. You'll regret it. I typed one word back, come. He arrived the next morning. Didn't knock. Just let himself in like it was still his home. I waited in the kitchen. Coffee brewed. Same way he liked it growing up, too much sugar, no cream. He didn't touch it. You wanted to talk, he asked, arms folded. I wanted to see if you had a soul left. He rolled his eyes. Don't do this. No, you don't get to ask that. You sat beside him. You looked in the camera. You sold me. His jaw tightened. Dad's giving me a job. A real future. Connections you never had. So you picked your future over your mother's blood. He didn't beat you. I laughed. Cold. Sharp. You were 8 when he broke my rib for burning the roast. You heard it. You cried for 2 hours behind your bedroom door. Don't tell me he didn't. Jason said nothing. And that silence? Confirmed everything. I stood. You're not my son anymore. You're his. And one day, he'll turn on you too. When he's done using you. You're bitter, Jason snapped. Alone. Old. Maybe if you'd been a better wife, he wouldn't have crack. My hand flew across his face before I even realized it. He stumbled back, shocked. But I didn't feel guilt. Not anymore. I bled for you, I whispered. I hid bruises for you. I lied to doctors and neighbors and myself for you. And you spit on it. Just like he did. Jason's cheek reddened. His eyes watered, not from pain. From the truth. He turned. Left. Didn't look back. That evening, I held Carla's rosary. I'd kept it all these years. She gave it to me once, trembling hands and a bloody lip. Said, you're gonna need this before this man's through. I never prayed before. But that night, I did. Not for peace. For clarity. For vengeance without hesitation. Then came the explosion. Not literal. But just as loud. The news broke the next day. Prominent CEO Charles Whitmore under investigation for financial misconduct. Sexual harassment allegations surface. Anonymous sources. Whistleblower documents. A few heavily redacted photos. I smiled. Margot had pulled the trigger. But someone else had loaded the gun. Someone on the inside. That's when I knew. Melanie wasn't done. And maybe, just maybe, she had her own revenge to finish. There's nothing more dangerous than a woman who knows what she's worth, and nothing more threatening to a man than when she realizes he never valued her to begin with. 3 days passed since Jason's betrayal. I didn't hear from him. I didn't expect to. The news kept coming. Financial probes. Anonymous accusers. Whispers from old colleagues who suddenly remembered Charles's temper. His business partners were distancing. His reputation, once gold-plated and polished, was corroding. Still, it wasn't enough. I wanted ruin. I wanted rot. I wanted him to wake up every morning to the sound of his own name being spat into the dirt. And then, Melanie called. I hadn't spoken to her since Oregon. But when I picked up the phone, I didn't hear the voice of the girl who once giggled on my husband's lap. I heard a soldier. Loretta. She's alive. Who? His first wife. Silence on my end. I'm his first wife. No, you're the legal wife. The one he never left on paper. But not the first. Not the original. Her name was Isabel Whitmore. Married to Charles at 19. Vanished by 23. Everyone assumed she'd run. Turns out, she was locked in a psychiatric facility for years, signed in under a false name. Her release? Silently processed 3 years ago. Paid for in cash. Melanie found her. Living in a halfway house in Michigan. Gray hair. Thin frame. Quiet. But lucid. He drugged her, Melanie whispered over the phone. Gaslit her into thinking she was insane. When she tried to leave, he had her committed. I couldn't breathe. He's not a monster, I finally said. He's a system. One man, and every silence that kept him fed. We flew to Michigan. Margot came. Melanie too. 3 women bound by the same fire, heading toward the spark that started it all. We found Isabel in a modest facility surrounded by gray brick and dead flowers. She looked like me, only older, like time had dragged her through every alley I'd narrowly escaped. She looked up when we entered. "You're Loretta," she said softly. I nodded. "I was before you," she whispered. She reached into her cardigan, pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper, placed it in my hand. A wedding ring. Simple. Faded. Bent. "He gave me that," she said. And then he gave me pills. Told me I was hysterical. That I imagined the beatings. That I stabbed him. I never stabbed anyone. "I believe you," I said. No one did. She looked up at me then. And for the first time in years, I saw myself in someone else. "He still signs my name on tax forms," she whispered. That's how Melanie found me. I'm still legally his wife. Everything clicked. Every account. Every tax shelter. Every offshore hideaway, they were all in Isabel's name. Which meant Charles committed years of financial fraud. We returned home with copies of court documents, psychiatric records, and the final nail, a notarized marriage certificate dated 1982, still legally binding. I brought it straight to the lawyer. His eyes widened. "This is game over." "No," I said. "Not yet." That night, I got a knock on my door. Margot was out. The house was silent. When I opened it, Jason was there. Drunk. Eyes wild. Hair disheveled. He stumbled in before I could stop him. "You don't get to destroy him," he shouted. "He built everything. He made me." "He made you a puppet," I said coldly. Jason's face twisted. "He's dying." I blinked. "What?" "Prostate cancer. Stage 4. That's why he's desperate. Why he needs the money, the deals, the silence." I felt nothing. Not pity. Not relief. Just a strange, sharp clarity. He can die rotting in a jail cell for all I care. Jason staggered. "He said you'd gloat." He was right. But as Jason turned to leave, he said something that nearly stopped my heart. He said if he goes down, he's taking everyone with him. "What do you mean?" "He has a list. A file. Everything. Every man he paid off, every woman he bought silence from. Judges. Executives. Senators." My throat tightened. "Where is it?" Jason shrugged. "Somewhere in his cabin. He's been staying there since the news broke." And then he left. I stared at the door for a long time, and realized the war wasn't over. Not yet. Not until I reached that cabin. And took everything. Abuse doesn't die when the bruises fade. It mutates. It evolves. And if you're not careful, it waits for you in the dark. The road to the cabin twisted like a serpent through the trees. Jason's directions were clear, 10 miles past the gas station. Right at the old oak. Through the unmarked gravel path. No signs. No lights. No signal. Perfect place to hide sins. Margot wanted to come. I told her no. This was mine. The woods felt wrong the moment I stepped out of the car. Too still. Too quiet. Like the forest itself was holding its breath. I carried only one thing, Carla's rosary wrapped around a USB drive. Inside the drive? Evidence. Names. Dates. Payments. Melanie's digital treasure trove extracted from Charles's hidden folder on his old law firm server. It wasn't the full file, but it was enough to make him nervous. And fear makes men stupid. The cabin was dark, but not empty. I saw it first in the dust, a trail of fresh boot prints. Then I saw the second car tucked behind the trees. Not Charles's. Someone else was here. I didn't knock. I walked in. It was cleaner than I expected. Everything arranged with surgical precision. Even the whiskey bottles were aligned in size order. That told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't panicking. He was planning. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Floorboards above me creaking. Deliberate. Unrushed. I stood still, back to the door. I wondered when you'd come, Charles's voice called down from the loft. I was hoping to catch you dead, I replied. He laughed. Low. Dry. Like a snake exhaling. You've made quite the mess, Loretta. You made it. I just lit the match. More footsteps. And then I saw him. Thinner. Paler. A tremor in his hand as he gripped the banister, but still in control. Still smirking like the devil himself. I suppose you want the file, he said. I want your soul. Too late for that. He walked down slowly. Not limping, but close. Illness had begun to rot him from the inside. And yet, his eyes were sharper than ever. You think I didn't see this coming, he sneered. The second you left, I started preparing. You're not the first to try and take me down. No, I said, stepping closer. But I'll be the last. He stopped 3 steps above me. You don't scare me, he said. Good, I whispered. Because I'm not here to scare you. I pulled the USB from my coat pocket and tossed it onto the table. He glanced at it. I have 3 more copies, I said. 1 with the media. 1 with the Attorney General. 1 with your ex-wife. The first one goes live in 24 hours. Unless, he smirked again. Unless I beg? No, I said. Unless you confess. Publicly. On camera. To everything. His face changed. Just slightly. A flicker. Like a crack in a dam. But he didn't answer. Instead, he said, you shouldn't have come alone. And from the back room, the door creaked open. I turned. And I saw her. Carla. Alive. Bloody. And holding a gun. For a moment, my brain couldn't make sense of it. She looked hollow. As if something inside had already died. Then Charles said, you remember Carla. You thought she was a victim. I took a slow step back, heart pounding. She was, I said. He laughed. She was my fixer. For years. Every woman I hurt, every deal I buried, she cleaned it up. You think I kept her around for her body? No. She was useful. Until she got greedy. Carla's hand trembled around the gun. She came to you, he said. She staged the whole thing. The bruises, the crying she was crying, I snapped. For her job, he spat. Because you were the test. The decoy. I let her pretend to rebel to see how far you'd go. And you, oh, Loretta, you went farther than anyone. I turned to her. Carla, you don't have to do this. You don't owe him anything. She blinked. Tears welling. But the gun stayed up. He owns everything, she whispered. Every account. Every secret. If he dies, I die too. And then a click. The safety off. She pointed it at me. But something in her face shifted. And that was his mistake. He said, do it. Commanding. Cold. She flinched. And I saw it. That moment when a woman finally realizes the voice she's followed isn't God, it's a man. And men lie. She turned the gun. Fired. Once. Straight into Charles's leg. He screamed. Collapsed. Blood soaking the floor. I rushed forward. Kicked the weapon from her hand. She sank to the ground. Sobbing. I'm sorry. I thought I could. I was just so scared. I knelt beside her. You're not the villain, I whispered. You're just another ghost he made. Charles writhed. Screaming. You bitches. I stepped over him. Bent close. Whispered. You're going to prison. You're going to rot. And every woman you ever hurt is going to dance on your grave. I called Margot. Called the lawyer. Called the cops. They took him away in a stretcher. Screaming curses. Spitting like a rabid animal. Carla went willingly. Said she'd testify. Said she was ready. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't sleep. I sat by the window and watched the sunrise. And for the first time in 40 years, I felt clean. They think justice is a clean thing. That it arrives in a courtroom like a savior with a badge. But justice is ugly. It's messy. It screams and claws and makes you relive every goddamn second you begged to forget. The trial began on a Thursday. Rain poured like judgment across the courthouse steps. Dozens of reporters waited, microphones raised, questions like knives, Mrs. Whitmore, did your husband ever confess? Is it true he bribed a senator in 1998? Do you feel vindicated? I didn't answer. Because the truth was I didn't feel anything. Not yet. The courtroom smelled like bleach and old sweat. Charles sat at the defense table, leg in a brace, face gaunt. Even sick, he wore his arrogance like a crown. Next to him, two attorneys in $1,000 suits and shark eyes. Behind me, rows of women. Some I knew, most I didn't. But all of us carried the same thing in our eyes, the long, slow burn of disbelief finally catching flame. The prosecution started with finances. Embezzlement. Bribery. Fraud. Clean. Boring. Unemotional. Then came the women. And everything changed. Melanie testified first. She didn't cry. She didn't blink. She simply listed dates. Incidents. Times he'd corrected her mistakes with slaps and threats. How he monitored her cycle to control when she could leave the house. The courtroom gasped. Charles smirked. Then came Carla. Still bruised, but proud. She told the jury how Charles hired her at 19. Promised safety. Then broke her down until she didn't know who she was without his commands. She confessed to hiding evidence. Buying pills. Cleaning blood. He made me part of it, she whispered. And I let him. When I took the stand, I looked him in the eye. I didn't bring notes. I didn't need them. He was gentle at first. They always are. Then the rules started. The punishments. The silence. I stopped being a wife and became a body he could threaten into stillness. The jury stared at me. Some teared up. One man looked away. He beat me while our son slept down the hall. He once made me scrub vomit off the floor with bleach until I couldn't breathe. I went deaf in one ear from the ringing. He told me it was just a headache. That I was overreacting. Charles didn't flinch. But I did see him look at Jason. And for once, Jason didn't look back. Then the prosecutor brought out the folder. The file Melanie had helped extract. The one Jason had confirmed existed. Full of names. Senators. Judges. Executives. Priests. All paid. All silent. One name stood out. Judge Randolph Keegan. The man currently presiding over the trial. The room froze. Whispers. Gasps. Audible shock. I looked at Charles. He was smiling. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't a trial. It was theater. Court recessed early that day. Media exploded. Keegan recused himself, but damage was done. Charles's lawyers filed for mistrial. I paced that night like a woman on fire. I'm losing, I whispered to Margot. No, she said. You've already won. How? You got out. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like survival with no applause. The next day, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo. Black and white. Dated 1983. A girl. Bruised. No older than 15. Standing beside Charles. I turned it over. A single line written in shaky pen. He buried her under the name Diane. She was never found. I collapsed. The floor felt like water. My lungs like sand. Because I remembered that girl. She came to the house once. Said she was with his charity. He told me she was lying. Delusional. I made tea for her. Then sent her away. I sent her away. I brought the photo to the prosecutor the next morning. They traced the date. Found the death certificate. Ruled suicide. But the girl's sister, now in her 60s, was still alive. And when she testified, she pointed at Charles and said, he was the last person who saw her alive. He told my parents she ran off with a man. But she was pregnant. The court went dead silent. Even Charles went still. The trial turned. Fast. The jury deliberated only 2 hours. They returned with 4 guilty verdicts. 3 more trials would follow. But in that moment, in that room, he lost. When the gavel hit the wood, I didn't cheer. I closed my eyes and whispered Carla's prayer. Dear God, if you're there, take what's left of me and make it mean something. Outside, reporters waited again. This time I walked past them. Stopped just once. Turned to the camera. And said, if you're watching this and you've ever been silenced, write your name in the comments. Speak it. Scream it. I will read every one. I will say it back. We're not invisible anymore. The louder you scream, the quieter they want you. But once your voice is out, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the women still in cages. I thought the trial was the end. I thought conviction meant safety. I was wrong. The first threat came wrapped in pink paper. A card. No return address. Inside, written in perfect cursive, "You've made enough noise, widow. Time to rest in peace." No signature. Just a printed photo tucked inside, my son, Jason, sitting in a cafe, smiling, unaware he was being watched. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I scanned the house. Every window. Every door. Then I lit the card on fire. If they wanted fear, they'd have to come scrape it from my bones. I called Jason. He answered on the third ring. "Mom," he sounded tired. "Where are you?" He paused. "Why?" "Because someone's watching you." Silence. Then I know. That night, he came over. He didn't bring his wife. Didn't bring his son. Just a duffel bag and a face I barely recognized. "I found something," he said, throwing a manila folder on my kitchen table. Inside, documents. Memos. Old emails. Some were from Charles. Most weren't. Names I didn't recognize. Seals of private companies. Nonprofits. Shell organizations. All tied to the same account. An account used to fund Charles's off-the-books operations. And it didn't stop with him. "Mom," Jason whispered, he was working for someone. Someone bigger. The day after he was sentenced, this account went dead. Transferred to an offshore name we can't trace. I stared at the final page. A letter. Signed in initials only, R.K. Keegan. I breathed. Jason nodded. And not just him. He handed me a newspaper clipping. Dated 1994. A photo of Charles, with 4 other men. One of them in military uniform. Another in clergy robes. The caption read, "Founders of the Westbrook Initiative. A national alliance against domestic delinquency." Jason laughed bitterly. They called it a charity. It was a network. A cleanup crew. The next day, I posted a video. I didn't cry in it. I didn't shake. I looked straight into the camera. This isn't about one man. It never was. My husband abused me for decades, but the world helped him. The judges. The charities. The silence. If you've ever been told to stay quiet for the sake of the family, you've already met them. You've already bled for their comfort. And now, it's their turn to bleed. The video went viral. Comments poured in. Thousands. From women I'd never met. From men who apologized. From daughters whose mothers never came home. My father used to make me kneel on rice. He said it was discipline. My pastor's brother molested me for 3 years. They moved me out of the church. He broke my collarbone and the hospital said I must have fallen down the stairs. Then came the email. Anonymous. Subject, "We tried to warn you." Attached was a single video file. I opened it. It was dated 1986. A hidden camera. Poor quality. It showed Charles. In an office. With a man I didn't recognize. But what he said made my skin go cold. What happens if she talks? Charles leaned back, lit a cigar. "Loretta? She's weak. And if she isn't, we'll break her. Like all the others." I dropped the laptop. Stared at the wall. He had planned my silence years before I even knew I was screaming. Later that week, a woman showed up at my door. She was in her 70s. Hair pinned tight. Black gloves. Name, Evelyn Byrne. Said she worked for Westbrook in the 80s. Said she left when things got too dark. She handed me a flash drive. Every name, she said. Every payout. Every girl they hurt. I asked why now. She answered, "Because I watched you suffer in silence. And silence is a coward's shield." I held that drive all night. I didn't sleep. Because now I had a choice, use it. Burn them down. Or walk away, protect my family, and vanish into peace. I turned to the camera that morning. Started recording. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Tell me if someone tried to silence you too. Tell me what you'd do with the proof if you had it. Because I have it now. And I don't know if I should torch them or destroy the system brick by brick. Have you ever faced this choice? What did you do? I'm listening. I swear I'm listening. Because this isn't over. This isn't healing. This is war. And this time, we're not coming in peace. You can board your windows. Lock your doors. But when the enemy lives in memories and whispers, no wall will keep them out. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Not because I was afraid. Because I was deciding. How do you destroy a system? Do you leak the files? Give them to a journalist? Trust the courts again? Or do you go darker? Name every man. Burn every bridge. Make it so no daughter, no sister, no wife ever ends up like you. The flash drive Evelyn gave me burned in my palm. It held 187 names. Judges. Politicians. Executives. Priests. Even women, yes, women, who buried reports, paid off victims, justified pain in the name of God or order or profit. I sat at my desk. Alone. Staring at the upload screen. I hovered my finger. Paused. Not from fear, but clarity. Once I uploaded this, I wouldn't get my life back. And maybe I didn't want it anymore. That's when the church made their move. A press release. Posted on Facebook. Shared by thousands. We are deeply saddened by the recent defamatory campaign against the late Mr. Charles Whitmore, a generous donor and man of strong Christian values. His widow, who now posts publicly, was once under psychiatric evaluation and has been estranged from our ministry for years due to behavioral concerns. I laughed. Out loud. They weaponized my therapy records. Used my own healing to discredit me. Jason called me that night. I can sue them, he said. No, I replied. They want us to play by their rules. I'll use mine. That Sunday, I stood in front of the church. Same one where Charles once forced me to sit in silence. Same one where they held charity auctions using girls as mentorship prizes. I went live on social media, camera in hand. This is where I first learned how to smile through a bruise. This is where they taught me silence is holy. This is the building where they prayed over me while covering up Charles's violence. And now they say I'm mentally unstable. I pointed at the building. If believing women makes me unstable, maybe the whole damn world needs a diagnosis. 2 hours later, the church's page was flooded with hundreds of thousands of comments. They deleted their account the next morning. Then came the night. The one I still can't talk about without shaking. I was brushing my teeth. Lights low. TV murmuring. Then a sound. Not loud. Just wrong. A click. From the back door. I crept down the hallway barefoot. Heart steady. Phone in my hand. Then I saw it. The door was open. Just slightly. Not broken. Not forced. Just unlocked. Which I never do. I stepped outside. Quiet. Faint scent of cigarette smoke in the air. Then I saw it. A shoe print in the dirt. Heavy. Male. Still fresh. I turned around and someone was inside the house. I ran. Out the front. To the street. Called 911. They came. Guns drawn. But the house was empty by then. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Except a single frame. Smashed on the kitchen floor. It was a photo. Me. And my sister. From when we were girls. Jason begged me to stay with him after that. I refused. They want me to run, I said. I've run enough. Instead, I installed cameras. Floodlights. Reinforced locks. And that night, I went live again. My face bruised. But not from fists, from fear. They came into my home. Touched my memories. Tried to make me feel small again. But I'm not that woman anymore. If you're watching this and you've ever been hunted in your own life, comment below. Tell me who made you feel unsafe in your own body, your own bed, your own town. This story isn't just mine anymore. It's yours. That video hit 1 million views in 3 hours. And in the comments, my father watched me sleep with a knife under his pillow. My boss used to threaten to ruin my life if I told anyone. I slept in a car for 6 months to escape him. I realized something that night. They think power is money, position, fear. But real power is a woman who survived you and still dares to speak. And I'm not just speaking now. I'm roaring. The next morning, I picked up the flash drive, logged onto 3 journalist sites, encrypted everything, sent it out with a single subject line: if I die, publish this. Then I opened the upload site. And this time, I didn't hesitate. You think the worst pain is what they did to you. But it's not. The worst pain is learning how many people knew and chose silence anyway. I thought releasing the list would feel like victory. I expected catharsis. I expected fire. What I didn't expect was silence. For 12 hours, nothing happened. No media. No statement. Just the eerie, suffocating stillness that comes right before the storm. Then it hit. Like an earthquake. By morning, 12 resignations. A congressman, 3 judges, a former CEO of a family values nonprofit. All tied to Charles's empire. The internet split down the center. Some called me a hero. Others called me a witch, a manipulator, a mentally ill widow seeking fame. She's trying to ruin good men. Just another angry woman who couldn't keep her husband. Crazy old bat, probably faked the beatings. That one made me laugh. I have the hospital reports. I have the x-rays. But truth doesn't matter to the ones who benefit from doubt. Jason flew into town that afternoon. He didn't say much. Just hugged me longer than usual. Then he handed me an envelope. From Aunt Diane, he said. I froze. Diane died in 2011. Or so I thought. Jason, I whispered. She's gone. No, he replied. She just went underground. You're not the first woman they tried to erase. I opened the letter. Inside, a note and a photograph. The photo was old, 1974. A house party. Women laughing. In the corner, a young Charles. Next to a man I didn't recognize. They looked identical. Same jaw. Same eyes. Same cruel smirk. Diane's note was short. You asked once why he hated women. Ask who taught him. I scanned the back of the photo. 2 names scribbled in ink. Charles Whitmore, Roger Whitmore, his father. A man Charles never once spoke of. I searched my attic that night. Every old box. Every photo album. And there it was. A single black and white photo stuck between pages of a Bible. Charles as a boy. Maybe 10. Standing next to a tall man in military uniform. Same man from the party. His father. And Charles's hand? Bruised. Knuckles raw. I confronted Evelyn the next day. She nodded slowly when I asked. Yes, she said. Roger started Westbrook. Charles just inherited the throne. But why? I asked. She looked me dead in the eyes. Because power wasn't enough. They wanted control. Over women. Over bodies. Over truth. I found Diane that night. She lived under a new name in Arizona. We spoke for 3 hours on the phone. She told me everything. How Charles's father used to beat his wife while Charles watched. How he turned their garage into a correction space with soundproof walls. How Charles wasn't abused alone. He learned with others. Other boys. Other sons of powerful men. It was a school, she whispered. A damn finishing school for cruelty. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me shifted. I had hated Charles for so long. For what he did. For what he became. But now I hated him for something deeper. He had the chance to break the chain and chose to reinforce it. He chose it. He embraced it. He passed it on like a legacy. And now, I was going to burn that legacy down to its bones. The next morning, I posted a photo. The one of Charles and Roger. Captioned, "Monsters raise monsters." But somewhere, the bloodline breaks. I'm not here to forgive. I'm here to end it. The post was shared 6 million times. And in the comments, my grandfather beat my mom and my dad beat me. It ends with me. I watched my uncle break every woman he dated. I never said a word. I'm saying it now. We inherit trauma. But we choose who we become. That night, someone broke my mailbox. Left a letter in a bag soaked in gasoline. No stamp. Just 4 words. We are your beginning. I stared into the dark street. And whispered to myself, no. I'm your end. It's not the devil that hurts you most. It's the angel who smiles as they twist the blade. The letter reeked of gasoline. We are your beginning. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. But I could move. And I did. The next morning, I changed my routine. Different grocery store. Different routes. 3 burner phones. This wasn't paranoia. This was preparation. Because I had seen what happened to women who knew too much. They didn't get assassinated. They got discredited. Labeled unstable. Vindictive. Broken. Then came the email. Subject: I was part of Westbrook. I got out. Let me talk. I didn't trust it. But I answered. And 2 days later, I sat across from Angela Wade in a rundown diner in Oklahoma. Late 50s. Sharp eyes. Steady hands. She wore long sleeves, but the burn marks peeked through. I was recruited at 17, she said. They called it mentorship. But it was grooming. I escaped at 34. After burying a daughter I'll never get to name. I didn't ask what she meant. Some things are written in the silence between words. She handed me a folder. I flipped through. Budget sheets from 1993, signed letters from state officials, redacted names of victims, labeled as cases of moral defection, and one that stopped my breath, a federal contract. Westbrook. Department of Social Conduct. Funded under a shadow division from 1988 to 2001. What is this? I asked. Angela looked me dead in the eyes. They were building obedience systems. Experimental control programs. They tested it on women first, wives, runaways, female inmates. If it worked on us, they'd scale it. I shook my head. Where's the proof? She smiled bitterly. You're holding it. And they know it. When I got home, my porch light was smashed. Not broken, unscrewed. A message. They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to make me feel watched. But they miscalculated something important. I'd lived under Charles's eye for 38 years. Fear stopped working on me a long time ago. The next betrayal came soft. Wrapped in a knock on my door. It was Stacy, my sister-in-law, Charles's younger sibling, once my closest friend. I hadn't seen her since the funeral. She stood with her arms crossed, red-eyed. I need to talk, she said. I let her in. We sat in silence for 10 minutes. Then she said it. You need to stop, Loretta. You're hurting people who weren't part of this. My husband, my kids are being harassed. You're destroying lives for revenge. I stared at her. The woman who once snuck me aspirin after Charles cracked my ribs. The woman who cried with me in the laundry room. And now? She was siding with the ghost of a man who beat me until I bled. You saw it all, I whispered. Every bruise. Every lie. You knew. Her lip trembled. Knowing isn't the same as then what is it, Stacy? What is knowing but doing nothing? That's not innocence. That's cowardice. She stood up. I loved him. I stood too. He didn't love you. He used you. Like he used me. And if you choose to protect his legacy over truth, then you're no better than him. She slapped me. Hard. Just like Charles used to. Then she left. I stared at my reflection in the hallway mirror. Cheek red. Pride intact. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. Because now the whole world was watching. That night, I opened the file from Angela again. I scanned the redacted list. Cross-referenced initials. And there it was, R.K. Not Robert Keegan. Not Richard Klein. Ruth Kincaid. A woman. High-level psychologist. Former military advisor. The one who designed the system. She once lectured on obedience in domestic spaces at Stanford. I remembered her. She wrote a book in the 90s, Silent Harmony, The Role of Discipline in Marriage. Charles had it on his nightstand. I filmed a new video. Eyes cold. Voice steady. We talk about patriarchy. We talk about male violence. But what about the women who reinforce it? What about the mothers who hush the screams? The sisters who look away? The wives who protect predators? This isn't just a man's sickness, it's systemic rot. And it doesn't care about gender. It feeds on silence. If you've ever looked away, look now. And ask yourself why. It was shared 7 million times in 48 hours. Hashtag Silent Harmony trended worldwide. And somewhere in Virginia, Ruth Kincaid locked down her social accounts. But not before a whistleblower posted her emails. The internet exploded. Congress opened an investigation. And me? I received a voicemail. From an unknown number. Just 3 words, "You're next, Loretta." Good. Let them come. Because the system that raised monsters just made a bigger mistake. It gave the victim a microphone. And I'm not putting it down until every last one of them is exposed. There's no courtroom for the soul. No gavel for betrayal. Only memory. And scars. And the echo of the lies we told ourselves to survive. They summoned me. A federal subpoena. Oversight Committee on Historical Abuse and Private Institutions. I stood in my kitchen, hands trembling. Jason was silent on the phone. "Do you want a lawyer?" he asked. "No," I said. "I want a microphone." The hearing was closed door, but the pressure was public. Media vans lined the street outside the courthouse. Reporters shouted as I walked in. "Loretta, did you fabricate the abuse? Did you mean to destroy Westbrook? Are you mentally competent to testify?" I didn't answer. I wore all black. A single pearl pin. Charles gave it to me after he split my lip in 1994. To make up for the accident, he'd said. Now it sat on my collar like a bullet. Inside the chamber, I faced 12 people. 8 men. 4 women. One of the women wore a crucifix and refused to make eye contact. The chair cleared his throat. "You're here voluntarily, Ms. Whitmore?" "I was never free," I replied. "But I'm here." They asked me to recount the abuse. So I did. Not just what Charles did. What the system taught him to do. I spoke of obedience rituals. Emotional starvation. Financial strangulation disguised as marriage. And the silence they baptized us in. 2 hours in, one of the congressmen, Representative Milton Gray, interrupted. "Well, with respect, Ms. Whitmore, if this abuse occurred over decades, why did you stay?" I leaned in. Smiled softly. "Because I was trained to. You raised us to be obedient, submissive, devoted. You taught us divorce was sin. That pain was patience. That men's rage was God's will. You didn't raise wives. You raised willing prisoners. And I was the best inmate you ever had." The room went still. Milton looked down. He didn't speak again. Afterward, I walked out into a hurricane of cameras. I didn't say a word. But I didn't need to. That afternoon, the footage leaked online. Clips went viral. You raised wives. You raised willing prisoners. Pain was patience. Rage was will. I was the best inmate you ever had. This isn't testimony. It's liberation. Then it happened. 3 days later, someone leaked my full written statement. Not just the court. Not just the press. Every detail. Even the part about my miscarriage in 1989. A secret only 3 people knew. Jason, Evelyn, and Margot. The woman who had made me soup when Charles kicked me down the stairs. The woman who slept on my floor during my divorce trial. The woman who said, "You're not alone." I confronted her. She didn't deny it. "I didn't think they'd publish everything," she said. "They threatened to pull my disability pension." "My brother's job, I trusted you," I whispered. "You still can," she begged. But I couldn't. Trust isn't rope. You don't knot it back once it's cut. I left. I packed a bag and drove to a cabin Jason found me in Colorado. 3 weeks. No internet. No cameras. Just air. But the past doesn't stay buried. Not when the dead don't stay dead. It was 2:13 a.m. A car outside. Not headlights. Just parked. Still. Watching. I stepped onto the porch. Then a note slid under the door. Typed. Plain paper. Just 2 lines. Roger Whitmore is not dead. He wants to finish what Charles started. I collapsed into the chair, staring at the name. Roger. Charles's father. The architect of the whole system. Dead since 1997. Or so I thought. I called Angela. She picked up on the first ring. "I got it too," she said. Same note. Same time. "Is it true?" I asked. Her voice broke. "Yes. He faked his death. Government witness relocation. They buried him to protect the program." I felt like the floor vanished. We hadn't been fighting ghosts. We'd been fighting a machine. Still alive. Still operating. And its king? Still breathing. I ended the call. Sat in the dark. Tears didn't come. Anger did. A wildfire in my bones. I whispered into the silence, "Come, Roger. Come see what your empire's become. I'll be waiting. And I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore. I'm your reckoning. People say you're brave for speaking up. No, speaking up is survival. Walking back into the fire, that's war." After Angela confirmed Roger was alive, I lost sleep for 4 straight nights. Jason offered to fly in. I told him no. This wasn't his war. It started long before he was born. And it would end with me. Angela connected me with a man named Ellis. Ex-military. Burned by the same program. He worked data security during the cleanup years when they buried Westbrook. Turns out, they didn't bury it. They relocated it. He decrypted files for me. Showed me a site in Madison County, Kentucky. Disguised as a faith-based behavior correctional facility. Privately funded. No online presence. But the land deeds? Traced to Cloverfield Foundation. And guess who once sat on their board? Roger Whitmore. I packed what I needed: 2 burner phones, hidden mic, a copy of my federal testimony, a bottle of morphine, just in case I was caught and tortured again. I wouldn't survive it twice. Then I drove. 13 hours. No radio. Just silence and my heartbeat. I arrived at the gate at 3:17 p.m. A gravel road wound through pines. Fences high. Barbed wire. Security cameras rotated slowly. A small sign, Harmony Fields. Rebuilding character through order. I pressed the buzzer. No answer. Then the gate opened quietly, like it had been expecting me. I drove in. Gravel crunched beneath my tires. The trees thickened. And then the clearing. A large white house. Brick outbuildings. A barn. A tall flagpole with no flag. It looked peaceful. Like evil always does. As I stepped out, the door opened. And my stomach dropped. Because standing there, smiling, gray hair pulled into a tight bun, was Rosemary. My sister. Dead since 2007. Or so I thought. "Hello, Loretta," she said. I nearly collapsed. I buried you," I whispered. She walked forward, calm as stone. "No," she said. "You buried who they told you I was. I've been here since 2006. What is this place?" She stepped aside. "Come see." Inside, it looked like a high-end rehab center. Clean floors. Soft lights. Bibles on every table. And cameras in every corner. Rosemary walked me past classrooms with glass walls. Young women sat quietly in rows. No phones. No books. Just notebooks labeled, "Correction Notes." "You faked your death?" I asked. She nodded. "They offered me safety. I took it. And now you're running this place?" "No," she said. "I'm preparing the girls." "For what?" She didn't answer. Just led me to a room. 1 chair. 1 camera. On the wall, "Confession is the first step toward purity." I sat down. The speaker crackled. Then a voice. Old. Gravelly. I knew it instantly. "Roger." "Loretta," he said. "You were always so passionate." I didn't speak. He continued. "You remind me of your sister. Fire in the wrong hands becomes chaos. Where are you?" I asked. "I'm everywhere," he said. "I don't need a body anymore. I built something eternal." I slammed the mic on. "You built a cage," I growled. "And I'm tearing it apart." "You don't understand," he replied. "You think this is abuse. But it's order. These girls? They come broken. They ask for control. We give them what the world took." I spat on the floor. "You're not a savior. You're a slaver." Silence. Then laughter. "You're too late," he said. "You're not the first to come looking for me. And you won't be the last to disappear." The speaker clicked off. I jumped up. Rosemary was gone. The hallway dark. Doors locked. I ran. Every exit sealed. Until one opened. A figure waited. Not Roger. Jason. Tied. Gagged. Bruised. Eyes swollen shut. They'd taken him. Tracked his flight. Used him to lure me in. The message was clear: you're not untouchable. I cut him loose. He collapsed into me. "Loretta," he rasped. "Run." "No," I said. "Not this time." I turned on the hidden mic, spoke clearly. "This is Loretta Whitmore. I am inside Harmony Fields. The people running this are violating every code of human decency. Young women, surveillance, isolation, psychological warfare. And Roger Whitmore is alive. I repeat, Roger Whitmore is alive. Then I smashed the fire alarm. Sprinklers erupted. Sirens screamed. I grabbed Jason. We ran. Outside, floodlights snapped on. Security swarmed. But we made it to the woods. Gunshots cracked the trees. Jason stumbled. I dragged him. 10 more feet. Then headlights. Police. Angela had traced my GPS. The cavalry had come. As I collapsed onto the grass, soaked and shaking, I looked up at the night sky. The stars didn't blink. But I did. And whispered, "Your empire ends tonight, Roger. You tried to bury me. You forgot I'm the seed." They only believe you when it's trending. And even then, they look for ways to forget. I thought escaping the compound was the end. But it was just the beginning of the war. 2 days later, Harmony Fields was raided. SWAT teams stormed the grounds. Dozens of girls were rescued, most too dazed to speak. Some cried when they saw the sun. Roger was nowhere to be found. But Rosemary was arrested. She didn't resist, didn't cry, just looked straight at me as they cuffed her. Like I had betrayed her. The headlines exploded. Elite faith program exposed as abuse compound. Survivor Loretta Whitmore escapes from secret obedience facility. Is Roger Whitmore alive? New federal investigation launched. They started calling me the widow who wouldn't break. But the news cycle doesn't heal trauma. It just amplifies it. Jason recovered slowly. He had 2 broken ribs and a fractured wrist. We stayed in a safe house outside Virginia, monitored by federal agents. Angela never left our side. One night, as she helped me change Jason's bandages, she said, "You need to prepare yourself. The courts are going to turn on you." I laughed bitterly. They already did. 30 years ago. "No," she said. "I mean now." The government issued a statement. "We are deeply troubled by the allegations against the Cloverfield Foundation. We are investigating the authenticity of claims regarding Roger Whitmore's identity and location." But then came the twist. They denied any knowledge of his survival. Called it a conspiracy theory. No record of Roger Whitmore exists after 1997. If he's alive, he's acting independently. We never authorized Harmony Fields. It was a lie. Angela had proof, emails, payment records, leaked correspondences. But they stalled. The system doesn't self-destruct willingly. Meanwhile, Rosemary refused to speak. For weeks. No confession. No plea. Until she requested a private meeting. With me. The prosecutor warned me not to go. I didn't listen. The prison was cold. They brought her in wearing beige scrubs and shackles. She looked thinner. Eyes hollowed. We sat across from each other. Silence stretched. Then she whispered, "He's not just alive. He's running 6 more facilities." My blood ran cold. "Where?" "I don't know," she said. "They move them every 6 months. Different names. Different charities. One in Montana. One in Romania. They trained us never to ask questions." "Why no?" I asked. "Why tell me this?" She looked down. "When they faked my death, they made me promise I'd never see you again. They said you were broken. Dangerous. That you'd infect me." She looked up, tears welling. "But you survived. And I didn't. I want to believe it's not too late." I couldn't speak. Part of me wanted to hug her. Another part wanted to scream. Instead, I stood. "Write down everything you know. Every name. Every city. Every phrase they used. And if you're lying, I'm not," she whispered. "He's going to surface. He wants the world to see him. He's planning a broadcast. A broadcast." The thought turned my stomach. Angela's team traced satellite records, strange encrypted signals, possibly tied to Roger's locations. But nothing solid. Then came the courtroom betrayal. The federal prosecutor refused to bring charges against Cloverfield's executive board. Said there was insufficient direct evidence linking them to systematic abuse. I stood up in the courtroom. "You knew. You had memos, bank statements, transfer logs, Ms. Whitmore," the judge warned. But I didn't stop. "I gave you everything. And you're still protecting him. They held me in contempt of court. 2 hours in a holding cell. When they released me, Jason was waiting. He didn't speak, just held my hand. That night, I recorded a video. Jason helped me edit. We posted it everywhere, to every woman who has been gaslit, discredited, ignored. To every sister who buried her voice so her family could sleep. To every survivor who was called crazy, you are not alone. And we are not done. I shared everything. Names, locations, images from Harmony Fields. Then I said, tell me where you're from. Tell me if this ever happened to you. Comment below. Let's build a map. Let's name every shadow they thought we'd forget. And I ended it with, subscribe, share. Let them know we're watching. Let them know we remember. In 72 hours, it had 9 million views. Thousands of comments. From women over 60. From nursing homes. From shelters. From lawyers and teachers and waitresses and widows. This happened to me in Idaho. My father sent me to Harmony when I was 15. They beat me for smiling at a boy. Thank you for surviving. I couldn't. They tried to erase us. But we became a storm. And somewhere, Roger was watching. And for the first time, he knew we were coming. Sometimes evil doesn't hide. It sets a stage and dares you to step into the spotlight. 2 weeks passed after the video went viral. Thousands of survivors came forward. Each story was a match. And I was gasoline. Angela's team mapped every tip. Pins dotted the globe: Nebraska, Alabama, Morocco, Estonia, Oregon. Patterns emerged. Roger hadn't vanished. He had franchised obedience. A global infection dressed as rehabilitation. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, a small envelope arrived at the safe house. No return address. No stamps. Inside, one black flash drive. And a note, handwritten, for the widow. You're famous again. Thought you'd like a preview. Jason looked at me. Angela called in a tech team. But I couldn't wait. I plugged it in. The video was grainy. A single fixed-angle camera. Cinderblock walls. Fluorescent light humming. A young girl, couldn't have been more than 16, stood barefoot in a corner, facing the wall. A timer on the wall, 43 minutes and 21 seconds. She wasn't moving. Just breathing. Shallow. Shaking. A voice boomed from off-camera. Protocol 2. State your error. The girl turned slowly. Eyes swollen. Blood on her lip. Then, with a hoarse whisper, I disrespected male authority. I rolled my eyes when corrected. Silence. Then a second voice. This one softer. More familiar. And my blood ran cold. She reminds me of Loretta. So defiant. The girl looked up. Straight into the camera. And said, trembling, Loretta Whitmore, please. I know you're watching. Help me. Jason gasped. Angela stepped back. And behind the girl, a figure emerged from the shadows. Not quite visible. Just a shape. But his voice? Unmistakable. Tell her I'm waiting. Just like the last time. I fell to my knees. My head pounded. That voice. It wasn't just Roger. It was him when he was younger. They'd enhanced it. Synthesized it to mimic who he was in 1993. It was psychological warfare. He wanted me back in the dark. Angela yanked the drive out. Where did this come from? She demanded. I shook my head. No one had seen who delivered it. But I knew. Roger's people had infiltrated the safe zone. He was mocking us. Taunting me. We traced the video's metadata. Encrypted. But the clock on the wall? Calibrated to Moscow Standard Time. The girl's dialect? American Midwest. It meant one thing. Roger was trafficking obedience. Exporting it. The worst part? The girl, she had my mother's eyes. Not biologically. But I saw myself in her. Same posture. Same quiet fight. And I knew if I didn't act, she'd be me. But without the escape. Jason begged me not to go public with the video. It's too much, he said. People aren't ready. Angela agreed. She wanted time to verify. But I uploaded it anyway. Raw. Unfiltered. 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Caption. They want silence. I give you truth. This is what they do. Look at her. Hear her. Share her. The internet shattered. Within hours, 12 million views, hashtags trending, hashtag obedience is abuse, hashtag find her. Former employees of Harmony Fields came forward. 3 lawsuits filed against Cloverfield in 24 hours, but with visibility came danger. At 2:37 a.m., the power cut out at the safe house. Angela's men surrounded the building. I hid in the panic room with Jason. Footsteps outside. Glass shattering. Gunshots. One of the guards down. Angela didn't flinch. She opened the safe, pulled out a compact Glock, and handed me another. I hadn't held a weapon in 35 years. But it felt natural. Because this wasn't justice anymore. This was war. They retreated before sunrise. But not before spray painting something on the front porch, silence her or lose her. I didn't sleep that night. Jason wrapped his arms around me as I sobbed into his chest. I'm so tired, I whispered. He kissed my forehead. I know. But she's still out there. The next morning, Angela handed me a thick envelope. From Rosemary, she said. She finally cracked. Inside were 19 handwritten pages. Coordinates. Names. Phrases. Internal protocols. And a line underlined 3 times. He calls the new program the Arkansas. Underneath that, Loretta, he wants you to come. That girl, she's the bait. And you're the storm. She was right. Roger wasn't hiding. He was inviting me. This time, not to kill me, but to break me. To film it. To make obedience viral. And I'd be damned before I let him make a show of my silence again. I pulled out my old locket, the one my mother gave me. Inside was a photo of Rosemary and me. Whole. Before Westbrook. Before the lies. I kissed it. Then stood up. Let's end this, I said. Angela nodded. You're not going alone. Jason stepped forward. We finish what he started, he said, fire in his voice. We don't just end him. We erase his legacy. And I smiled for the first time in days. Because if Roger wanted a show, I'd give him one. But it wouldn't end the way he thought. It would end in fire. And my name would not be whispered in fear. It would be remembered in victory. When they can't erase you, they reinvent you. They build monuments to your pain. And call it devotion. We landed in Bucharest under the name the Thompson family. Angela had arranged everything. Fake passports. Cash. Weapons. An ex-Mossad contact with 1 eye and 3 ex-wives. The plan was simple. Find the Arkansas, extract the girl. Burn it down. But Roger knew we were coming. The Ark wasn't just a compound. It was a cathedral. Hidden beneath the ruins of an old embassy, cloaked behind humanitarian permits and architectural restoration funds. To the world above, it was a diplomatic building under repair. To the children inside, it was the afterlife of defiance. We breached at 3:14 a.m. Angela led the first sweep, silent takedowns, thermal scans, no shots fired. What we found beneath that building, it stopped my breath. A long, spiraling staircase. Etched into the wall in silver leaf, through obedience we rise. At the bottom, a biometric vault. Jason cracked it in 7 minutes. And then, the air changed. Cold. Processed. Like walking into a tomb that forgot time existed. The first hallway was lined with portraits. But not of Roger. Of me. Paintings, sketches, even a sculpture. My face distorted in reverence and agony. Below each piece, a title. The first widow. She who returned. Mother of consequence. I wanted to vomit. Jason whispered, he turned you into a religion. I couldn't speak. Because it was worse than that. He turned my survival into a doctrine. Then we heard it. A low chanting. Dozens of voices repeating, obey. Rise. Repent. Rise. Repeat. Angela signaled right. We moved down a hallway marked Protocol Hall. And found the children. They stood in rows. Eyes covered. Hands clasped. Mouths moving in rhythm. Girls. Boys. Maybe 40 of them. All under 18. Each with a small screen in front of them playing my video from months ago, the one I recorded after Harmony Fields. But the subtitles were altered. My words retranslated. Twisted. Instead of, you are not alone. We are not done. The subtitles read, alone you are wrong. We correct you until you're done. Jason backed away, shaking. Angela said it first. He didn't destroy your story. He rewrote it. I wanted to scream. But then I saw her. The girl from the video. Sitting in the far corner, in isolation. Her arms bruised. Knees red. Eyes shut tight. I ran to her. Sweetheart, hey, it's me. Loretta. You're safe now. She didn't move. Didn't blink. Just whispered, are you real this time? I knelt. Yes. Yes, I'm real. I came. Just like you asked. She reached out. Touched my face. Then sobbed. I thought I dreamed you. Her name was Mira. 16. From Kansas. Her parents had enrolled her in a virtue program to discipline rebellion. She arrived in Bucharest 3 months ago. Never saw sunlight since. We carried her out. But before we left, I turned back. And saw it. The Hall of Firsts. Roger's shrine to me. At the end of the corridor was a massive mural. Me on my knees. Arms bleeding. Eyes lifted to the sky. And Roger above me like a god. Painted in gold. I walked to it. And beneath the mural was a plaque. She begged for mercy. And found power. And suddenly, I remembered that day. The real day. In our old kitchen in Georgia. He had pinned me against the sink. Slapped me so hard I bit through my tongue. I had begged. For my life. For silence. For breath. And now he called it power. I turned to Jason. Burn it. Angela handed him a pack of thermite charges. We placed them under every support beam. Timed ignition, 9 minutes. As we ran through the corridor, the alarms began. Sirens. Red lights. Voices yelling in Romanian. But we were already gone. Car loaded. Kids secured. Mira holding my hand like a lifeline. We watched from a nearby hill as the ark collapsed. Not with a bang, but with a howl. A scream through steel. The cries of 1,000 whispers buried forever. Mira looked up at me. Will he come back? I brushed her hair back. I hope he does. She blinked. Why? Because this time, I'm not hiding. This time, I brought everyone. I posted the footage online. The children. The chants. The shrine. No blur. No filter. Captioned, this is what happens when you let monsters shape memory. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what they called you. And if they made you forget your name, let's remember it together. Backhand index pointing down, subscribe. Share. Speak. No more silence. Not from us. And that girl? Mira? She's safe now. But she still wakes screaming sometimes. She still flinches when someone says her name. I hold her every night. Not like a savior, but like a sister. Because we both know. Obedience never dies. But neither does defiance. They told me I was too old to fight back. Too tired to matter. But I became the storm he couldn't outrun. Let me ask you something, my friend. Where are you watching from? Have you ever been told you were too old to start over? Too broken to be believed? If so, I want you to tell me in the comments. Because this chapter isn't just mine, it's ours. So like, subscribe, and stay with me until the last breath of this story. Now listen closely. This is the chapter where I stopped bleeding. And he started to beg. The explosion of the ark didn't end it. It only called him home. Roger Whitmore didn't run. He sent a message. A video. Filmed in the ruins of Harmony Fields. Smoke behind him. Firelight on his face. You win, Loretta. Come home. Let's talk. One last time. Bring your rage. I'll bring mine. That wasn't a plea. It was a summons. And I answered. I didn't bring police. Didn't bring Angela. Not even Jason. I left him asleep in bed, kissed his temple, and left a note. Because this was between us. Not just man and woman, but architect and survivor. I arrived at sunrise. Harmony Field stood like a graveyard. Charred swings. Burned walkways. The chapel collapsed. Except for one thing. The chair. The same one where I had been strapped. But now Roger sat in it. Wrists tied. Face bruised. Blood from his lip. Someone had gotten to him first. Loretta, he smiled. You look divine. I stepped closer. No men to protect you this time, he added. Fitting. I knelt. lifted his chin, and whispered this time, "I don't need protection." Then I showed him. I played the footage. Every girl, every chant, every shrine. I let him see the altar he built out of my pain fall. And when it ended, he just laughed. "You think the world cares? You think they'll keep listening to you when you're not screaming?" I leaned closer. "I'm not screaming. I'm building. A life. A movement. A war." He blinked. "You're too old for war." I pulled a syringe from my coat, held it up. "Then let's start with a small battle." The serum was his own. Truth serum. Used at Harmony to break the rebellious. He'd used it on women like me for years. Now I watched him twitch, spit, sob. "She begged me to stop," he murmured. I liked it. I liked when they bled quietly. I recorded every word, every syllable, posted it before I left the grounds. Caption: the founder of Harmony Fields confesses. To every name, every bruise, every grave. This isn't fiction. This is America. I didn't kill him. I left him tied, naked, alone. A janitor found him 2 days later, crying in a puddle of his own waste, begging to see the widow. He was tried, publicly. 7 life sentences. He wept in court when they read Myra's name. She didn't flinch, just held my hand and said, "Let him rot." 6 months passed. I published the book. She blooms in ashes. It wasn't a bestseller. It was a Bible to the silenced. Senior women wrote me from everywhere. "Your story is mine." My husband said no one would believe me. I'm 72. And I just ran. And you? If you're here reading, listening, then I'm asking you, where are you from? What did they try to erase in you? And what did you do when no one clapped for your survival? Tell me in the comments. Not for fame, but because someone just like you is watching, wondering if it's too late to bloom again. I am Loretta Whitmore, 63 years old, twice broken, never defeated. And I'm not asking for applause. I'm just making sure no one forgets. He bled me. Then I made the whole world bleed his name. Subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs to remember their name. Comment below. Where are you from? What would you tell your younger self? And if you've ever lived in silence, we hear you now.